Are you an entrepreneur or ready to become a boss? Welcome to Hawaii Boss, the business podcast made in Hawaii, where you will hear from island movers and shakers on who they are and their impact on our state. And now, step into the office of your host for Hawaii Boss, David Pettijohn.
Aloha, Hawaii Boss podcast crew, listening in out there, watching in out there, wherever you get your fix for Hawaii business news and business leaders. We're in the boss's office of Mr. Mike Wysocki today of VPLS Solutions, and he's going to have to tell us what that is. But Mike, welcome.
Thank you very much, David. I very appreciate the opportunity to speak and tell you a little bit about what I'm doing over here.
Can I ask a question? It says on your VPLS Solutions, the art and science of computing. Tell me about that. What is there's there arts and science? You know, you always think computer and you're going to be, but there's something else involved. There's an art to it.
I don't know. I mean, I've been doing it for 30 years, so I'm in sales, so I don't know if there's much of an art to it, but the fact is just persistence. But yeah, so just to give you an overall, what we do is VPLS is a company based in California. And we've got offices over here in Hawaii, Oahu, Maui, Big Island, and we're integrator, reseller, and.
So what does that mean, integrator and reseller? Some people, again, we're slow it down for the people. We're in the boss's office, but you got to, for the.
Oh yeah, no, sure. I'll explain. It's easy. We mostly focus on the business aspect, the businesses of Hawaii. So if you got a company, they have 100 users, 500 users. State and local, corporate America, whatever, they're going to need some assistance and some help with their networks, security, where they need specialization.
Is that how they count it, by how many users there are? It's kind of a user-based, a number of a certain category.
Yeah, exactly. Some people target all different types, but a lot of the business I work with personally is mid-tier businesses, a company with 200, 500 users. And they're going to need some specialty assistance. Example, security, help, firewalls, networking, make sure it's set up, managed, maintained. In Hawaii, it's very commonplace that you're going to get a lot of understaffed, overworked IT personnel. That's very common. So if a company on the mainland has, we'll say 5 people for 500 users, over here they might have 2.
So that's the major difference. That's sort of the stark difference and the challenge, I guess, that faces a solid ongoing infrastructure for Hawaii, an IT infrastructure. That user or that vocation of IT specialist, which is so broad now. But so, what do you think is the solution? I mean, for Hawaii. I mean, you're involved in Hawaii. You're on all the islands. It sounds like. What are some of the ideas that are sort of bubbling up, or if you had your king for the day, what would you do?
Well, I mean, a lot of them. It's funny because you have 2 or 3 different types. You have one type, which is usually the larger companies or state and local governments, and they for some reason like to throw their business to the mainland, which I think there's enough opportunity here in Hawaii for everybody, and. Then you have the other folks that they try to do it all themselves, and they're either going to work themselves to death, stress themselves out, or just get it, just barely get it done. And then you have the third guys, which I really enjoy working with, and it's like the mid-tier businesses, and these guys are good guys. They work hard, and they work with local partners to do specialty work, such as vulnerability assessment. Is their company even secure? Do they know that? When was the last checked out? A lot of companies out there, and it's very simple. I can ask any company and find out in 2 seconds if they're secure. I go, when was the last time you did a vulnerability assessment? And show it to me. And I've asked that for 20 years. I rarely get a response. But when you do get a response, and they're like, I've done one, then it's a great conversation.
Right.
Then you can ask them about penetration testing. And nobody ever gets that done. So everybody's like, oh, security's hot and exciting these days. I don't know.
If you can find someone, to do it, to be able to get to that level, to get past the day-to-day mundane, resetting passwords and that grind, right? You're just you can't get to that more advanced stuff. So then So this is vulnerability. So I guess IT has solutions for that to sort of create those AI based, or I don't know AI, but just some wraparound that helps to protect or to bolster that.
Oh yeah, I mean everything's out there and everything's on the islands. People just have to reach out and be responsive and work closely. I mean, you have some good networking events we have over here, like B-Sides, ISSA, and some other events that come to the islands. But the talent is here, and the opportunity. There's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of good companies, but yeah, no complaints, no issues. I just get upset when I see state and locals send the business to the mainland, and they don't give the opportunities to the locals, as well as large corporations too. That has been the saddest part about the business, though, I have to say.
Well, and that's the challenge. And sometimes, again, we don't try to get political, but there is an intersection between business and government and the resources that are provided, from the government. So you have to assess, what are the criteria, and are there, some points favored or advantage to, Hawaii-owned, Hawaii-based businesses. That's a question mark. I don't know if it's a standard, but it should start to play a role if you want to build the infrastructure internally.
Yeah, that'd be great if they could help out the local businesses. If, when the state, instead of throwing the business to, the mainland or some of these larger companies, just throw it to the local. Give the local guys like an extra chance or something like that.
Right.
I mean, some of the mainland companies don't even pay tax. You know what I mean? They ignore the GET. They don't even know. Nobody knows what GET is outside of Hawaii. When I moved here, I was like, what? This tax on services? You got to be kidding me. And nobody in the mainland knows that. They don't do it in California. No,
right. And Hawaii doesn't have
and
Hawaii doesn't have a very good process to check. It seems like they've started to crack down in the last little bit. You hear that a little bit more. Hey, are you? They've got after some of the therapy companies that I've worked with and saying like, hey, are you paying this? And but yeah,
they never check it. I've asked companies and they go, no, nobody's ever checking it. Ever gets checked. You lose probably billions of dollars, but it's just money.
It's just money that would help, reinvest in the infrastructure in Hawaii.
Yeah, exactly. Give back to the state. Anyway. But
again, these
talk
are
about that for 7 hours.
That's right. Well, and that's a challenge. I think with Hawaii's infrastructure too, and some of the systems are, there's some legacy things that I think prohibit sometimes. That infrastructure that they currently have, the cost is so prohibitive to move forward into something next, and so they're dealing with these legacy things, and they just add more problems onto the next without. So yeah, government planning in IT is probably not a topic that we want to spend a whole lot of time on. But listen, you went to UMass Amherst a while ago, and you studied sociology.
Correct.
Now when I was in college, I got a sociology major, but now I've earned more respect for that study, the study of human systems. How do you think that's helped you in your sales career as you've gone into IT and your skill set? What are some fundamental things that you think of you brought all the way with you from there?
Oh God! Ironically, no. It has more. That's going to have to do with more part two of the conversation we're having. But
okay.
I went to college. Yeah, basically, I went to college just to get a degree. And I wound up in sociology because it just seemed interesting. But really, it was. I remember one of the last few weeks of school. I was out, just finishing up, grabbing a couple of beers, and I bumped into a bunch of kids that I went to school with in my classes, which I never got to see when I was in school. And they were all going into social work or all these governmental agencies, and they go, "What are you doing?" I go, "Going into business. That's where the cash is." Right. And so I went into the business world, and ironically, I didn't use my sociology degree until 30 years later. So, no, the business world, it's, sales and smile and dial, find accounts, grow the business, work at vendors, try to get IPOs.
It's systematic. Sales is systematic. It's not just wine. It's not just wine and dine. There's metrics and you have to move on those metrics per plan, per time, or there's problems. So rollout schedules are probably no fun. I'm sure you're probably as you do that now and those kind of things. I'm sure as you look into your future, that's what you do now. But you said you've been doing this for 30 years. But as you look into your future and you're evaluating, okay, what I've learned throughout these years is. some people have this piece, and I think you may, that something they want to give back, or something that they've created or tried to understand throughout their entire career, and then try and share it with the world, in book form or media or whatever like that. It sounds like you're working on something in a book form. Go ahead and explain and tell us what's happening with that, and we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, so David, when you mentioned sociology, and it's kind of an interesting angle, is I've been in sales for 30 years. Mm-hmm. And exactly, I did it for money, for cash, for capitalism, to make because I grew up in a humble environment. There's nobody in my neck of the woods making any money. Right. They're just regular working guys, and nothing wrong with that. And but I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to go out and get in that world. What else is out there in the world? Right. And I had no idea. And when I was in school, I went to the Career Center, and still there was nothing really going on. So then I started my business career, and I'm like, okay, what else is there? What else? It's always drive me crazy. What else is there? What else? What are people doing out there? And what are their thoughts? What are their opinions on their occupations? Right. And so from there, I built a website, and from that website, I got all this career information. People filled it out. CEOs to beekeepers to actuaries to merchant marines, all of that. And they sent it into my website. And from there, I'm like, okay, what am I going to do with this data? And it was bouncing around in my head. Should I start this, like a web portal or something? And so what I basically did was I found the best questionnaires. I received hundreds of them, and I chose the best 101. I'm going to be publishing a book called Careers by the People. Okay. And so what happens is the target is people for more or less like 5+ years in their careers. Some are less, but majority are more. And because you really can't get a good understanding about an occupation 3, 4, 5, 6 months in. And so what happens then is we ask them 20 direct questions. And the questions, what's it like in the day, a day in the job, would you like it, the pros and the cons, and just the thoughts about what they do and why they chose that career, and has it been, interesting and whatever. And so we put it in book form, or I put it in book form. I always say we, but it's really I. And that's going to be rolled out. And so the other thing too is to make it so different chapters, I looked into all these different angles and theories, and one was Holland's occupational themes back in 1950. Okay. And Holland broke them up into like 6 different categories. So,
sort of domains of practice, occupational domains, 6. Okay.
Yeah. Holland basically said there was some people who were like enterprise, and there's other people, those are CEO types or, sales reps, or people that just go out there and get it. There's also people that, that just help out. And then there's other people who are great in operations. So we tried to, put them into some perfectionists, like an actuary. So we put them into different organizational groups. So that was kind of the angle. And then I throw in my career obstacles, because every single book that you read these days, my God, everybody's the greatest person that's ever lived. I know.
Everything is a success. I did this, and miraculously, boom.
I'm a multi-billionaire. Yeah.
Good to great.
Yeah. So my angle was different. I wanted to come up with and say, hey, I went out there after college, clueless, trying to figure it out. Thought I knew everything, like everybody who's 22 does. Failed myself to death. And then I got sick of Massachusetts, moved to Los Angeles, did well there. There's no question about that, no complaints. And then got a chance to move to lovely Maui. And that's when I started really tweaking the book up, and got a publisher from a friend I met in the beach, as former students, and I went from there. So that's kind of the story. And it's just, now it's cascading and positive. I mean, I get to speak with guys like you, Hawaii Business Magazine, Anthony. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff happening. So yeah.
Yeah, because I think there's that information is important, that we give folks clear pathways. I think some maybe to, well, not only for Hawaii's sake. I mean, what do you think the benefits are? Something like this product you're trying to, how would that? What's the give back to Hawaii? Does it, how would it, help the understanding of occupations, I guess?
Well, it's funny because, I mean, through Climb Hawaii is one of the tools they have in Hawaii, where you get a chance to speak to a lot of students in the high schools. and I have, and it's really cool. And from there also, like my local high school is Kihei Charter. So I've been on site there, and you get a chance to talk to the students, and they're exactly like we were when we were 15, exactly like we were when we were 20. They're still confused. They don't know where to go. Everybody's like, all these new generations, they get so much information. Sure,
it's overload.
It's overload, exactly.
Right.
And so they want to hear it from the real world, and they enjoy that. And I'm pretty cut and dry. I don't make it pretty. I don't sound like, life's great. I tell them the truth. They enjoy it. And so then they ask, and they go, what's, some ideas, suggestions. Some are going into college, some are going into work, some are going into military, just like when we were younger, right? Nothing's changed.
Right.
And they just want to see what's it like in the real world, because the competition is this online. It's all governmental stuff. A government will say, a painter paints from 8 to 4. He gets $32 an hour, and if he gets benefits, that's very good. And so it's like, it's vague, and it's just.
Like the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, you go and you can find out about the job. Well, what's the potential growth rate over the next, several years? But it is vague. It's like, okay, is that really all you do? That's it?
It's not from a real person, yeah.
Right.
So that's what the big difference is. And so what I'm trying to do in Hawaii is, Hawaii, always you hear is brain drain, because the opportunities can be better and less expensive. If you move to Arizona, you make more money, cost less. But let's try to figure out ways to keep the kids or the young people in Hawaii, right? So you want to explain to them there are opportunities. And I do talk about my career path and what I'm doing in technology that interests them, but I don't want to pigeonhole them into IT, because I want to.
There's so much more.
Yeah, do what they want to do. I mean, seriously, one of the things I always talk about here is, here's the gold mine. If you're a science major or into STEM, as they call it, and you live here in Hawaii, it's a gold mine. You know what the gold mine is? It's called all the observatories. How many we got? 6, 7?
Yeah.
You can live on Maui. You can live on Big Island. I mean, cost of living on Big Island, Hilo area. If you like that world, if that interests you, and that interests a lot of people.
Right.
A lot of people in this STEM field love that stuff. I think it's more exciting than technology any day of the week.
Right.
But again, there's so many opportunities, and with Climb Hawaii, they have a kind of focus more in the tourist industry. And, I think that there's so many other things out there, and that's what I'm trying to do, just trying to get people to understand and just help out. And so I got book 2 coming out, book 3 coming out, and it's going to be a trilogy. And but yeah, just I think that these kids will have a good understanding. The more I can get in front of, 15 to 25 is a great target. Also, like military transition, kids in college, the community colleges. So it's a lot of good targets here on the islands that will need it. And
it's sort of maybe a how-to, or a real life sort of the cold hard truth of what they do, and very revealing. It's like, I remember when I was in college. Actually, I was at church, and the lady from my mom's friend, she said, well, she was a funeral director, and she said, oh yeah, he'd be great funeral director, and we could dress him up, and I could get dressed up in a tie and things. Oh yeah, that'd be great. And then I started looking at going, and then there's a whole career available as a funeral director and an embalmer. But then I started reading about it. I'm like, I'm not sure I can do that. But there's a whole set of great jokes, if you're a funeral director. So, but there's just things you don't even think about.
Well, and that's it. And you really nailed it. There was the kids or the students have to go out and look what is out there, because for you and myself, funeral director, no way, I'm not going near there. It stresses me out. But there are people, and actually, ironically, I went to high school with a kid, and that's what his whole focus and goal was. It's kind of a little odd, but
he wore the black suit to school, right?
He did, and he got me a little nervous, because he always called me Mr. Wysocki, and I'm like, you're my age, but anyway, just don't bury me. But the point is, but it's a great career and that's the whole point of the book is, anybody can go do a job and be good at it. Anybody can be anywhere. I don't care who they are. I've worked with sales guys that are good, average, whatever. You can survive. It's not a problem. The ones that are great are the best in any field. When you talk to people that love what they do, It's a joy. You can sit back and just let them rip and talk about it from A to Z.
So there's a saying about that may apply here. Is that if your job? Oh, sorry, the saying went away. So I'll come back to it. Go ahead. You were saying.
Yeah. If you find the job, if you don't have to work for money or something like that. It's actually the last line.
If it's not a job, if you like what you do, if it's fun, it's not work. They say there's work, but talk about that. Is find what they say. Find your dreams or follow your passions, but that's not always true either. What kind of sort of a midline between what you like and what sort of pays the bills?
Yeah, and that's it. That's what I talk to the students about too. I'm like, our goal here isn't to be the best barista at the local Starbucks. No. Our goal here is to find something that will interest you, that will challenge you, that you can grow into over time. If you're not challenged, you'll get bored. The goal really is to find something that interests them enough. When they're at work, they do it and do it well. But when they're on their free time, it interests them so much they want to keep reading about it, and that's like the gold mine.
Reading, or they're getting ready in some way that I can do more with this. I can actually build on it. They see it like it just gives them this like life purpose, right?
Yeah, because over the years though, because I've worked with engineers, and a lot of them actually really do enjoy what they do. I remember meeting this one guy, and he worked for I can't think of the name, like one of the sports companies. It was in California, and I go, how's it like working here? He goes, I love computers and I love sports. He goes, I get the best job in the world. He goes, if they cut my pay, I wouldn't even quit. He goes, it's too great. And so, but you do meet them here and there. And when I worked in technology, I would meet these guys who love this stuff. Another one was, we did a presentation with myself and one of my engineers to the Apple group in West LA.
Right.
And at the end of the presentation, I'm like, I can't think which guy it was. I go, whatever. Hey, ready to rock and roll? He goes, are you high? These are my people. I'm staying with them all day. And I'm like, wow. So but things like that help the build. You want to find that these people are out there that actually have done their homework and figured out what they wanted to do in life. And
that's why
if I can help a small percentage of people who, the kids like, what? Like you said originally, my father's out roofing, I'm going to roof, my kid's going to roof. It's like, come on, man, let's figure it out. There's other things out there. Don't kill yourself. Go out and figure out what you can do, or what interests you that makes sense. Don't be right.
And that's something, particularly in Hawaii, there's this hyper, almost, similar to an Asian, Korea or Japan sort of high focus on success in these premier colleges in the U.S. and this sort of, so there's a sort of another pressure that way too, that there's expectations that you have to do this sort of level of job to be successful in this. And so, but telling, what are the challenges for people to, on both sides of it, to really choose their path? What are, what kind of barriers do people say? You get any feedback from the kids like, oh, I'll never be able to do that, or,
Well, no, I don't think I haven't got really any kind of really negative feedback or whatever, but we just try to, I'll give you an example. This one was amazing. This example here is the whole purpose of what I'm doing. So I'm going to Kihei Charter, and they had this summer program going on, internship for these students. And what happened was, I do like 5 presentations. So I heard the same, little video spiel before I did it.
Right.
And it's 5 different classes. So I'm like, okay. And then one of the classes, these 2 students were going bananas. Sitting in the corner, like they're all excited. And before I get up, I go, you know what? I want these guys to get this internship. Right. I've been through 5 of these things, and they're the 2 most excited. Right. Let me guess. You guys like to go outdoors and go camping, because that has to do with forestry, by the way. Which is,
great. Mm-hmm.
I talked to the forestry guy over here, and he was at a career event, and he's like, I can't get anybody to apply. I'm like, wait, outside work, you work in Maui?
Federal job?
No, and that's a federal job. And the guy goes, it's a job for life. And I'm sitting there going,
Yeah, you'd see that. Yeah, I think that would be the longest line.
Exactly. And okay, so to go back to those kids who go in the internship, it's them. And so I told them the story. I go, hey, I want you to get that internship. You guys are the most excited about it. I go, I bet you like camping. You're outdoorsmen. You can tell the 16-year-old boys or whatever, 17.
Right.
The majority like to go out and have fun and camp and go look for wolves. I don't know what the hell they do. But then I told them the story about the forestry guy, and they were like, their eyes are exploding. Going, you're kidding me? I go, guys, you can stay here in Maui. That's a goal. That's goal. 2, you can do a job you love. And you know what the forestry guy said? The only strike was, well, you know what? They got to kind of work up in like the up country, so they have to like probably live in Makawao. I go. They're young people usually. They're renting. They can rent up in Makawao. It's fine. I mean, it's a huge opportunity. And then at the end, one of the teachers goes, they go, you know what? We appreciate that you picked out those kids because they're not the top students. They're working hard like every other student, but they're not the ones that usually rise into this stuff. And I'm like, that's my target audience.
Right.
I don't even though I get endorsements from Stanford and the Harvard and some of these top schools. I don't. I really kind of need the kids who are going to the community colleges or I know UMass ranks 66 as the best school in the country.
Right.
I want to talk to kids who are going to school 250 or there's 4,000, probably 2,500. There's so much opportunity out there. I mean, the career centers at these high-end colleges, they'll pick up the phone any day. There's 50 of them. You go to a small school, there might be 3 people. It's
especially if you've graduated from Hawaii. Hawaii graduates, most of the schools have tons of scholarships and funds available. It's a matter of so there's a lot of pathways. I think, again, it's like they try in high school, but then if they're out of high school a little bit, I'm done with school for a little bit, but then they try to pick back up and try to find those resources, sometimes difficult. So a book like yours would give them some resources. And are there any segments specific to Hawaii in your books that you're looking at? Or, again, just you probably have a few Hawaii folks that you may have interviewed.
Well, you know what it was? So my target really is going to be, the ultimate target, it's also a joy for myself, is because I live over here in Maui, and I always say, I want to first help Hawaii, meaning if I could figure out a way to work with all the schools in the DOE, like the high schools. I mean, talking to a kid who's like 8 years old, they should go play baseball, have fun, go out and do fun things.
Right.
I'm serious. I'm a serious guy. So probably like the juniors in high school to the kids in college. If I could bounce around, help the schools, do that would be amazing. And then, I lived in LA, so I'd like to do some stuff in LA, then back east to Boston to see the colleges of my friends and all like that. But the fact is, I really want to spend as much time as possible helping Hawaii and helping ways for Hawaii to grow. So I'm going to be reaching out to foundations. Maybe they can, they donate my books to some of the schools. I can do some presentations. So I got a lot of different angles and ways in there, but get some endorsements so far. UH Maui is endorsed. Carl Ackerman, who did Punahou School, the Quail program, he endorsed it. I got Hawaii Kids Can, David endorsed.
Right.
Open for Julie of Climbs and a couple others in Hawaii, but yeah, I want, because I love Hawaii, I love Maui. I want to see what I'm here. I'm here to help, and just buy books again, basically, and I'll present.
And it's perfect timing. Listen, those kids are tired of sitting there at that screen. They want to see, like, okay, what's really out there now? Because all they have been is kind of locked in this little thing, and they're still doing half their school online. A lot of the assignments and everything. So they're spending lots of screen time. So these guys gotta try to get out and see what there is. So there's human connection, like this. Who is this person standing in front of me telling me these things, and it's not the same old person from I know, but there's like a real person who's experienced this whole life worth of experiences, and what I could probably do that too. And there's a ticket out here that would provide a career or a ticket that I can stay here. Wow.
Yeah. And then there is the opportunities there. And so I when I did the class up in Kihei Charter, it was really fun. It was really exciting. The kids were enthusiastic, asking questions. Also, when I did some of the WebExes, it was a great response. It was one of the schools on Oahu I started with, which was one of another charter too. And my God, it was pure. It was fun, entertaining. We were cracking jokes, having a great time. but it was good stuff. They asked some good questions, some funny questions, but it was all interesting. And they'll ask, you never know what the question is going to be, and that makes it more fun. So I always enjoy that stuff.
Well, I always loved it in high school when certain people came, and the kids would ask questions, and you get to know, kids that age, they see each other, but they don't really do a lot of communicating with each other. They're all kind of like grouped off and stuff like this. But when someone kind of comes out and maybe echoes what they're feeling or wanting to know about, that there's someone's hearing me, like, I don't want to do this, maybe I want to do this, so providing choices and avenues, and also it's sort of a mentoring, coaching kind of feel in here. And what do you think? How occupation coaching? How soon do you think it should start? Sooner in people's lives? We used to all, when we were 14 years old, as soon as we get a worker's permit at 15 or whatever, and drive, and that's what we wanted. We wanted a job, we wanted a car, and we wanted to roll. But now it's completely different. So how do we get that occupational, that drive for work, maybe a little sooner?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm gonna try to think about how do I can get that into, especially like the DOE, to figure out, are they doing any classes on that? And I mean, that would be the ultimate right there. I mean,
right.
If you can figure out that way, get the superintendent on the line or something like that, and we can figure out a little program, and that's what I'd really like to do. And that's been in the back of my mind is, it'd be simple, get the books to the kids, and then do some type of the quickest way would be do a video across the board on that. Or if they want me to, I go to certain different schools and do different programs. But I got that written down as one of my goals, is to try to talk to the people that make the decisions and see if they're interested in that. And maybe bounce me around Hawaii. I mean, I'd have a blast. You go to the different schools. I think there's like 60-something high schools, and get a chance to talk to all of them. But it'd be mostly, either the juniors that want to listen or the seniors.
Right.
They need to start getting the thought process, because they're going to be ready, and they're going to be adults in a couple of years. So some of the kids are going right into the workforce. So my point was, remember, think of your long-term goal. What do you want to be and accomplish? So start off that way, as low as you can in that field, because you don't want to start off there and go, okay, I'm doing carpentry for 2 years, but I really want to be an accountant. No, go to an accountant's office and say, hey, you got an internship? No. Anything. Is there anything? And then say, you know what? How about I come here on Friday afternoons and just volunteer?
Right.
And for 2 to 3 hours, I'll fetch coffee. I don't care.
Right.
I went back on an article that Bob Reich wrote about the old Labor Secretary back in the 90s. And it was amazing. He goes, just be a gopher. And it gets your foot in the door. And once your foot in the door, they'll get to know you. They're like, hey, our volunteer Bob is a good guy. Maybe we start him part-time.
Right.
So it moves.
Yeah, you're the first one in. Yeah, and a lot of volunteer, a lot of internships are volunteer anyway. But then if you showing that initiative and saying, hey, and there's also a give back too. If you're paying attention while you're doing it, you learn a few things. If you're watching and pay attention, taking notes, not just going like, oh, I've got a thing I got to go to. You got to start, and you got to own it, I guess.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, is because people brought that up too. They go, well, what if I do it for 3 months and I don't like it? Perfect. Then you know what? That's a career that you don't want to do.
Right.
That's the way to do it. Think of how many people went to law school. Everybody's like, oh, I got to get a law degree. I got to get a law degree. And they spent no time with the attorneys. They didn't. You know what? Before you go to law school, go spend a summer hanging around with attorneys. Go work for their firm. Go intern at their firm. Go be the gopher at their firm. Meet with these guys. Talk to them. Find out the people in the field. And this is what it really pushes. Find what you want to do, and talk to as many people in that industry as you possibly can. Because everybody here is, tech sales, you make the big bucks, it's easy, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
No, it's tough as hell. You do make money, there's no question. I always tell the students that, I go, you make a ton of cash. There's no question. You'll make more money than most people you know. And you get this and this and this to deal with. So just be prepared.
Right.
Or do it is a way to get out. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So there's so many angles to everything, and that's why we just try to. I'm like, all you guys got to do is find 3 or 4 things that you really be interested in, and then go talk to the people, intern or volunteer, and just take your time. Because if you can knock it out when you're earlier, you won't be doing that when you're 35, 40, and when you might have other stresses. You might be married, you might have kids. You might have mortgages.
Right.
Parents are getting older, so this is
Yeah, it's
the
good to
time.
figure it out sooner rather than later, and exploring jobs. I know it's a I guess buyer's market. If you're an employee, you want a job. There's a lot of choices out there. Still in Hawaii, they don't because a lot of the service jobs and things, they don't like to have the younger folks. There's a lot more risk, I think, and these days in the way everything is litigious wise, they don't really like to hire people under 18 years old. A lot of places, and so that I think that limits it a little bit, but. If someone wants to be an entrepreneur, maybe folks are out there, hey, I've got an idea. Because when they start talking, I'm sure yeah, my uncle does this, and he started this business over here. And so for those entrepreneur guys, what do you think, what are some opportunities you think are in Hawaii?
Oh, God, it's endless. I would say first get Pacific Business News. Make sure you're reading about what's happening, what's going on. I just read the other day in Pacific Business News, my God, talking about health. Everybody's worried about health, right? These guys are doing some DNA testing where they test to verify your DNA and what you should be eating and shouldn't be eating. So if I was that, if I was a younger person and I was looking into being an entrepreneur, I'd find out what all the other entrepreneurs are doing and go talk to them.
Right.
The thing about entrepreneurs is they're usually young and they're usually go-getters and they usually are open to talk. Again, when you deal with smart people, they're interested in ideas, suggestions. They're good to deal with. When you deal with people that aren't as bright as them, then you get the negativities. Oh no.
Right.
And the other thing too is life's obstacles. We go through life and you get shot down a lot, and that's what I tell the people too. I go, you do end up in sales, you get an ass whipping every day, but if you can take it, it's good, because when you do transition out or you're looking for opportunities, nothing phases you. You'll go up, you'll call 50 people looking for a gig, and you don't care. You get 49 no's, but maybe one or two want to interview and talk to you, and there's opportunities, and so you never know. But you got to go out there and keep trying and not give up. But if it's I did have an entrepreneur
Uh-huh.
in a couple of the classes, and we were talking about jobs and careers, and a couple of them said, what if I start a company? And I go, that's the ultimate. I go, we're just talking about trying to find a good career here, opportunity.
Right.
You guys that starting companies, go nuts. You know why?
Right.
We need somebody to compete against Mr. Bezos down the street. We need somebody to compete against Apple. We need somebody to compete against, Muskie there. Everybody. I mean, so we always need improvements. And some of these younger people were like, I get some good ideas. I go, you know what? We'll run with it. Figure it out. Talk to people in the industries. So yeah, I think there was a few of them, and that was really wild.
Right, they start getting their little things going, and they see it too. Listen, these kids are savvy. They're seeing, they're watching entrepreneurs on there, young kids, oh, hey, YouTube channel. They're starting to see, they're thinking about metrics already, and sort of it's like secondhand, it's like first-hand knowledge for these kids. This is the media or the space that they're integrating with, and I think there's a little bit of a gap between maybe some of the older companies, that are these larger companies, and then some of these new kids coming up too that are just super savvy, and they could have a cell phone in each hand and carry on with the conversation at the same time.
Well, and that's it. And so as long as they learn the basics, and the other thing too is to deal with the older generation too. So when they're speaking to them, make sure they put their phone down and speak clearly.
Right.
Follow through. I get some of that too. I get some of the calls. Oh, what do you think about this and this? And I'm like, I give them some good information, and I'll help anybody out. And their follow through is horrible. It's like you don't get a thank you sometimes. You don't get anything. It's just like, and so just a lot of the basic things. But you're right. If you get some of the students that have these interesting ideas, let's go with it. And where will it go? And you never know. Some might fail, in the first 10 ideas, but 11 might hit it. And that's what we're here to help out with. Just give them some ideas and point them in the right direction. And hopefully they get to meet some people that they can relate to, and maybe they find out that, it's not UH Manoa they got to go to. They got to go to UH West Oahu. And by the way,
great programs out there.
Oh my God, what they're doing over there with the media. Mm-hmm. So many people want to go into filmmaking, all that stuff. UH West Oahu, boom, it's going to be huge.
Right.
So things like that. But also, Maui's got some good programs. I'm obviously biased with Maui. You get UH Heal. There's so many of these schools here in Hawaii. There's opportunities, and the community colleges are not that expensive, and they'll throw ways. Yeah. So the opportunities, at least start here. But the other thing too is that they have they might have family here, they'll probably have family here, and they, so there's a lot of reasons to stay too. So.
Yeah, and build, and I think most companies, again, are realizing that this investment in our, in these children is, takes care of our future, and if we don't quite figure that out, if we're all just kind of focused on what we need right now in current state of things, and we don't reinvest in some way, and this is a great way for you as you're sort of giving back and sort of reinvesting and saying, listen, I need other people to come up after and have success and enjoy life, and maybe not do it, they don't have to do it as the hard way like I did it. Maybe you think, after that maybe I could have done it a little bit different and you wanted to do something different, but these guys maybe find their passion first, or find their, what resonates with them, their, their people, they find their people, and then work in that space.
And that's exactly it. You nailed it. Throughout this book, when I started working on it, I found out different things. I didn't know. First generation college, I didn't know what that meant. I just thought like first generation meant first generation America. No, it means you're the first one in your family to go. So that was kind of cool.
Right. Same here. My parents graduated high school. Blue collar bakers. Yeah.
Yeah, when we were younger, nobody knew that. Nobody knew that.
We thought everybody's parents, Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a lot of interesting things out there, but you're right. It's just to try to give the kids and give the students ideas and suggestions about what is out there, and there's opportunities here. I mean, you don't always got to listen to the naysayers, the negative people that you can't make it in Hawaii. People do, very successful people do, and they make it all different ways. And so, no reason just to give up so easily. I mean, exactly. Ooh. Pricing, cost of housing is expensive. It is everywhere. It always has been.
Right.
Work, always underpaid. Everybody's always has been. But there's ways to, to work angles.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you can make it here, and there's pathways to do it, and so it's but here you have to there's no clear pathways. Like, okay, I can move to Cincinnati and get this job after I graduate. If you want to stay here, you kind of have to massage it a little bit. Maybe you have to be a multi-talented, or I told my son, hey. Go get your CDL, and then you can go work on. If you want to do construction, you can work on any site. They're gonna need you for something like that. So if you want to go to a big site, or maybe a little thing that's going on, just say, hey, I got to, and that gets you on the ground. And so there's these entry little gateway jobs, I think, that are out there. And like you said, or either go and volunteer. If there's something that you see out there, man, that looks like something I'd like to do, then go talk to that person.
And that's it. And get there and get to talk to them, get to know them, and that's exactly the way it is. And over here too, the point you made was if you can make it here, and that's the thing that people don't get is Hawaii business is very difficult to maneuver because it's also cultural barriers you're going to deal with. In Los Angeles, they could care less about you as a person. They don't care. No, let's best deal, best product, let's get the deal done.
Results, yeah.
Over here it's like, who is this guy I do business with? And so once you're in there, you can move around and grow. But I think it's a good learning experience too, is to understand how the business is done in Hawaii, because it is different. And coming from the mainland, you get popped in the head a few times, and then you sit down, you talk to them, and then you get advisors. Yeah. And I got one, a male and female, that really helped me try to understand how to do business in Hawaii. Very helpful. And I always thank them all the time. You should, but it's a little different. But if somebody does that right out of school, it's the education's. It's amazing. You can take it. You can use it anywhere. So they can, if they want to, go to Tahiti, Guam, or if they want to go to New York City.
And that's the truth. Yeah, we're just not limited anymore by space and information. We can basically if we've got these skill set, we can go anywhere. And Hawaii is a great jumping off point if you want to do business in Asia, and and explore different countries, or just travel. That there's so many things that we get so like, oh, I got to work, I got to but if you don't have a lot of familial burdens and things like that, there's sky's the limit.
Yeah. Yeah, and so it's funny because if you can just you talk to a lot of people over here, and they're always get their subjects, but it's good. Man, my whole subject, you just career readiness, and that's it. So when somebody asks me about oh, what's a good car to buy, I'm like, that's not, it's not my bag. Don't even talk to me about that.
Right.
But so it's kind of when you find your focus, it does make things easier. But it's easy to say when you're older now. The younger people are like, well, blah, blah, blah. They're all over the place. But maybe they can corral it down to 2 or 3 things.
Right.
And hit it hard and enjoy. And you're right. Example, like a finance person, they go, you know what, I really want to get in finance. Well, you get finance here. And you're right, this is a great center because you can do business all the way to New York, but you can also do business in Tokyo too.
Right.
So we're right in the middle of it. And you could be an international business person too, because you're right, you can do Asia. And I mean, I've dealt with guys who deal that, and that's their territories are Asia, and they live here, and they also do some of the West Coast. So it's endless opportunities. They just have to, start it up.
Right, and it seems though that the technology though continues to be sort of the where it used to be go get a second language in college, but it seems that your understanding of technology is sort of the secondary language that you have to be successful in the world. There's no really getting around it. Yeah. And so that I guess continues to be a challenge. But I think people think that, well, if I'm going into IT, I'm going to go do that. No, you just need that as a foundation, and then you can use that tool. It's not necessarily your career path, but it's a tool for you to then create whatever. Maybe they have to, and I think they're trying to, differentiate that a little bit, where you see, maybe the digital arts, or you'll see, some of these other, they're more like UH West Oahu. They have the same thing, the digital media creation and all that filmmaking and stuff like that. So. You just, like I said, you said go to where you think your people might be, and see if the thing resonates with you, and see if it feels like something you could put all your effort in, because you will have to put all your effort into it.
Yeah, and the other thing too is, the other catch too is something we got to remember is if some of the students, and I saw it yesterday on LinkedIn, and I was really kind of like depressed. Some lady on LinkedIn was just so happy because she left the job that she loves. It pays $30,000 for the job that she just doesn't care about. It pays $80,000, and people are like, oh, that's great. It's just like, all right, make a couple bucks now, but you're gonna be bored to tears. So that's the thing too is when you're choosing money always first, be careful, because you will be bored to tears in time. If you're gonna choose to make a bunch of bucks now and save it and stash it away, that's great and all like that. But just be aware, there's gonna be a time where it's gonna catch up to you, and when it catches up to you, you're going to stop. So just
like you say, the boredom, or it's like this wasn't the job I wanted to do, or your lifestyle is extended to that salary rate, so there's no way out.
Yeah, and I've dealt with a lot of people like that in technology industry. They make a lot of money and they buy things, and they get in situations where they're way over their head, but they have to make so much money to survive, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, then they're burning through. And everybody's an obstacle. You're probably not in the right mindset after those kind of things. So you do have to watch about those people and how to deal with money. That's another thing that I think schools have sort of like how we manage money is another not sort of a standard like occupational sort of requirement, sort of some minimum standards there that seem like now are just all over the place.
Yeah, I think I read. I think Florida's doing something like that, but there's another course, So find the guy that's doing what I'm doing for careers, that's doing it for finance, that can teach the students. Right. And they're somewhat entertaining, because the kids will get bored to tears. But that'd be another great class. Is I just organize your finances and how to save money, and again, another great subject. There's so many little basic things that people need to know down the road in life.
Now, there used to be, if you lived in the country, there was a 4-H in our Future Farmers of America, but there was also Future Business Leaders of America. Are you familiar with that? You heard of that before?
No. When I was a kid, it was just hanging out in the corner, wasting time. We didn't do anything. I started. It wasn't. Again, I don't know. I barely got into college, and I barely went through college. And barely made it surviving, and years later. So I'm not the same person. No, I wasn't. That's what I tell students too. I tell them, I clearly wasn't a go-getter when I was younger. I just wanted to hang around and be a dope. I didn't do anything. And it just clicks. But here's the thing is, the day it clicks, and it clicked young for me, like in college or whatever, like, okay, I want to get going now. So when I'm in school, you get out, and then you just go crazy. So I didn't. Again, 4-H things, anything like that, that's huge for kids. They should be.
Right. Oh yeah, they learn great sort of just human skills. You know what I mean? Animal husbandry and all these different things that are available out there. And there's some of it on the Big Island, where there's there's opportunities for that kind of thing. But sometimes I guess folks are going to have to go to the mainland to learn certain skills, and hopefully they come back. And also the ones that are working, kids coming up now and folks who are still kind of out of their way. When do we expect to see I know writing a book is a passion, and if you found a publisher, you probably have a deadline. How does that work out, and does that cause, as you're creating this book and these things, when do you expect to see, the results of the fruit of your labors, I guess?
Oh, I hope within the next 3 months. So what happened basically was I was writing the book, and I was going to, just do a regular like self-publishing type of scenario, and then when I asked an advisor of mine to read it, and he's like, "Wow, this is really some wild stuff." And he goes, "Then the stories of, your obstacles in life are pretty, interesting and comical." And then he goes, "One of my former students, Andrew, who I became friends with, he published a book, and he goes, go talk to Andrew." And I did. And Andrew goes, "Let me talk to my publisher." So the publisher is called a hybrid. So, like Harper's Collins and all those places. Yeah, I mean, if you're a famous person,
those are the publishing houses. Yeah, they're the big marketing team. Yeah, the whole thing back.
The other, and the other one is self-publishing, which anybody can publish. I can publish a book on,
Amazon.
Old cell phones.
Right.
But the middle one now is called hybrid, and so you have to get accepted in, just like a college or whatever, and you work with them closely about how to produce a solid book. And so I went with my friend Andrew. He introduced me, and the publisher's like, no-brainer. This is going to sell. People need it. It's a good book. Let's get it going. So I started working with them, and they're like, okay, we're going to do this, this, and this, and this. And seriously, it's a lot of work. But again, obstacles in life. You can quit and go, it's too much work. Let me keep selling technology or whatever. But or just do anything. But no, I want to get the book out because it's going to help. And it basically, I'm writing the book for myself at 18 because there was nothing. There was no focus, nothing, zero. I went to school.
Like occupation choice for dummies, then, sort of like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
there was nothing like that out there. Like, okay.
Well, actually, technically there are. Studs Terkel wrote in like 72 or 74 the book called Working, which is like the original. Okay, so that's the Bible, we'll call it. And then the second one after that, 94, was from John Bowe called Gig. And very similar, but a little different. I get a different approach. John Bowe has endorsed my book. Mr. Terkel has passed, so I couldn't get an endorsement from him. But that's the coolest thing about writing a book is I reached out to a guy who wrote a book, one of the most important books in my life.
Right.
Not only did he respond, great advice, great ideas. He's, endorsing the book. He's going to be on one of the. I mean, that's it. And the world changes because you get to talk to. I'm talking to you because of this book.
Right.
And I'm talking to a variety of people, and it's a wild. It steps you out of your day-to-day world to like. There's people out there that want to make changes in the world. Right. In this, say career stuff. I mean, you're doing, you're podcasting and your whole show and everything. Other people are doing other things they want to do, which is cool. Yeah. And
it's there's work but there should be creative, productive, creative, space in your life. If your work is so much that it doesn't allow for it, you really have to consider and evaluate whether that's the right work for you. If your workspace doesn't allow your heart to create the way that you may want to, in whatever format. Some people create by making a beautiful table, as far as, an Excel spreadsheet, like, I can go to sleep tonight because that thing's beautiful. But, but other people have different, and if they can capture that in their day-to-day, I hope, even for a few years in their life, Mike, with maybe taking a read through your book and seeing some of those things. So we're hopeful that once that comes out, you come back on, let us know how successful it is, and we'd love to, share maybe some of the stories that are in there, give us some highlights of some of those folks that have gone on, some of the funny stories I'm sure that are in there, and also some of your hijinks as IT sales for the last 30 years. I'm sure that's been interesting roller coaster. So I look forward to hearing about your book when it comes out.
Yeah. The other thing I'd like to tell you how especially how it goes in Hawaii. I mean, what are the pros and the cons? I mean, the university system, are they going to jump on the program? Are the DOE going to jump on the program? Is it going to be the private schools? What's going to happen? So it's kind of, you're right. You're at the beginning part of the story. And in 2 years, I mean, how's it going? Or in 1 year or in 6 months? And right. And hopefully I get some really good stuff. And hopefully the, Hawaii really jumps and gets involved with this one.
Yeah, getting into DoD is sometimes hard. I think the charter schools have, it appears they have a little bit more flexibility to entertain these types of exploration, whereas the sort of the standardized grind of the DOE that is proper, doesn't, sometimes it's difficult to ingrain in there. But if there's a program that's just waiting there and they find a need and it's Hawaii based and they don't have to go out somewhere else and find that curriculum. Yeah, for sure. It makes total sense.
Oh, the other thing, again, the community colleges out there, we get the private schools, we get the university. So it's a lot of fun, and we'll see where it goes. So yeah, I'll keep it moving.
Mike, it's been a pleasure having you on. We're gonna have to end it there, but listen, I know you're grinding, you've got this career and you're building and creating, but if you're not doing all that stuff, where do we find Mike?
Oh, what's that? Whereabouts?
Yeah, where do we find you? Outside of all your work and your grind, you live in Maui. Where do we find you? Where's your special haunts in Maui?
What do I do in Maui?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's great. I mean, during the weekdays, the gym. I got yoga. I got swimming. Yeah, so, I mean, it's just Cave of Kapu Beach. I'll just if it's good swimming on the weekends, then yeah, I'm down there, getting some swimming in, walking my dog.
Maui's beautiful.
Hit the gym, yoga, everything, exercise, health, right. Going to see some shows here and there. We get my Brew Co. and stuff like that. So yeah, Maui is, it's a great place. I mean, I always tell people, everybody's like, oh yeah, what's it like living here? And I go, find me a better place in the United States other than South Maui, and I'm all ears, and I've got nothing. Nobody's responded yet. You can't beat it. I think it's the best place, in America, period, hands down, South Maui. I mean, I'm biased, obviously, because I live here, but, I mean, the people are nice. I like the temperature because I like the warmer climate. If you're a cold climate guy, you get upcountry or Hilo.
Right.
The swimming, like I said, my beach is a great swim beach. Yeah. It's a nice little relaxing community. I mean, yeah, it's expensive without question, but
right.
Hey, I worked 30 years hard for it,
Hey, you earned it. Hey, there's no, we don't care how many houses you got, I don't know. But listen, and the Hawaii Boss is planning an in-person visit over there to Maui, and we're going to be interviewing some folks live here coming up in May and June. So hopefully, again, if we're in town, we'd love to see you and hope that everything moves forward as planned with all of your work, and we look forward to seeing it and seeing its effects in Hawaii, Mike.
No, of course, always reach out anytime you're over here. It's always good to hear. I'm always here to help out Hawaii, help out Maui, help out Hawaii, whatever it takes. I mean, I'm happy with Big Island, Kauai, Oahu, all of them, Molokai, whatever it takes. Yeah, how we can make this place even better than it is, if that's possible.
Yeah, and I think we need a lot more folks like you who gotta give it back and understand that that's part of the living the blessing of aloha, and being able to walk down to that beach and enjoy all of this. There's definitely a requirement for the give back.
Yeah, exactly. 1 million of us were blessed to live in this great state, so let's give back to it and help it out. For
sure. Well, Mike, until next time, take care and aloha.
Much aloha. Take care. Thank you, David.
Okay, Mike.
Make sure to subscribe to Hawaii Boss and follow us on social media at Hawaii Boss Podcast at the links in the description. We'll see you soon in the boss's office.